Hello, this is Lawrence Lewis.
And this is Sister Christian.
Today is Tuesday, April 14th, 2020. This is the Producers Happy Hour, a daily podcast with two producers on opposite coasts, reaching out to our filmmaking and live event community to hear your stories about how the pandemic has affected you, your life, and your work.
Your stories let us know that we're not alone. It's important for us to keep sharing our experiences and ideas. I know that it helps me. I know that it helps Lawrence. And I know two other people at least it helps. So please keep sending them in.
Email us, or better yet, record a 1 to 2 minute voice memo and send it to producershappyhour@gmail.com. Just follow the instructions on our website, producershappyhour.com.
And please share this show with your friends, colleagues, your elementary school best friend, your frenemy from junior high. We want these stories to be heard. We also know that part of what's keeping us together as humans is sharing this experience, no matter what the experience is. So
yeah, we've talked a lot about the power of storytelling, and I think it's a world that we all live in and we all know, even as producers, and it helps. It's healing. It brings us together. And so share it, rate it, review it, and let's come together as a community. Christian, today we're chatting with Andy Wilcox. He is from a company called Evidence of Industry, which is a pop-up production department for agencies and clients.
Very excited to hear what that means. I know that the moment that I heard Andy was going to do our show, that to get his perspective, because he deals directly with clients and agencies, he has his finger on the pulse, as they say.
He does. All right, it's Tuesday.
How you doing, Lawrence? You first.
You always want to start with me.
Well, there's times when I've really busted in on my shit, but you go.
True.
Please let me know. How are you today, Lawrence?
I'm okay. I feel like I'm living in bizarro world all of a sudden. I mean, I know we have been for 4 weeks, but I know we don't want to get political, but the White House press conference yesterday was...
I think there's no hope of that after last night.
Literally something out of a Saturday Night Live skit. It was just... I don't know if you saw it, if you read about it.
I saw every moment of it.
I couldn't watch. So I saw it happen and I turned it off and then I just read recaps. But it's
as much as I did not want to watch it, I was just like completely in disbelief a little bit. And I don't know why it keeps surprising me. And I hate it when I say, can you believe this? And they're just like, oh, well, it's been happening. No, like this is like, it's happened in such small increment of the ramping up that it's you know, it's like, boy, sorry for you vegans out there, it's like it's like if you put a frog in a cold water, he'll never know once it starts boiling, because that's just kind of what's happening right now. This is pretty big. I don't know if you've seen any of the texts today either.
No.
How
what do you mean, texts?
No, the tweets where he's calling governors mutinous. Now, forgive me if I'm wrong. He turned all of this over to the governors because he said it's their job. We'll support you. But, you know, it's not our job to help
just the backup.
Supply all this. They're just the backup. We're your safety net. And now it's like, well, they've been mutinous and going rogue on their own. It's like, what? It's premium manipulation.
It's wild. And politics aside, just the hope and need deep in my soul for some sort of leadership and path forward and exit strategy and medical information and statistics and numbers. It's so absent, and I am feeling it in my soul today, and it's so scary. Our governor came out and said that, you know, the Western states have a pact.
Yes.
California, Oregon, Washington, we've made a pact. We're writing our own plan on how to get out of this and how to open up the economy and all that. And as heartening as that does feel, and as positive as that feels for me, and Governor Newsom's going to announce all the details of it today, it still is just so bizarre a world that these 3 states have a pact. Right. I love it. I'm all for it. Western America, sign me up. But it's just so strange. It is so strange that it has to come to this.
We over here in the Northeast came out with a pact as well, but that's starting to feel as though it's us against them, which I never want. I was watching last night, watching the press conference, and I was thinking to myself, like, he speaks with such, he meaning, you know, the big guy, he speaks with such conviction as if he is completely and totally right, I could see where somebody could buy into that crap. And that's all politics 100%. Considered. I didn't put politics aside on that one. So, I mean, I feel the same way you do this morning. I'm feeling pretty, just, scared that we're going to open up too early and it's not going to be right. Also, on the flip side, hopeful that we're going to open up early and that it works. And both of those things are struggling with each other, and they wouldn't be if we had some sort of leadership and unified message.
Exactly.
I wrote something down because Governor Cuomo was having his press conference, and I got caught up in it this morning, and I ran a little late, so I apologize. No worries. Thank you. But I do think that it's important because he said something important. He said this. So he went to Catholic school. Of course he did. And he said he remembers seeing a poster on the wall and he never got it until this moment. And it said, suppose they gave a war and nobody came. And that's how he's going to handle the incoming from, the administration. They're poking, they're trying to start a fight. They're trying to make an enemy so that they get reelected, all those things. And Cuomo's rising above it. And
he's just saying, non gauche pas.
Yeah, refuse to engage. And that will,
smart.
I can tell you that the thing that I know angers the majority of the bullies that I've dealt with in my time is ignorance. Is not giving them the energy or the fuel to be who they are. So I'm so fucking tired of turning the other cheek. But it seems that, rising above is what we're going with for now. So I'm behind it. We will see. Other than that, I have a little back thing. Kitten prep's happening. Kitten prep. So to get on to more important things. So fucking excited. 11 a.m. Kittens. On Thursday they come. Kittens. It's going to be great. So, and had fresh fish for dinner last night.
Ooh.
As much as this is a tedious exercise in mental health that's going on right now, settled into a bit of a routine at this point, week 4.
Yeah. Well, I have a couple of news things I want to share. I saw on Instagram Farm League. Do you know that company, production company here in Venice?
I don't. I mean, there's so many, but I don't mean to say that.
No, there's so many, but they're good. I see a lot of their work. So they do a lot of big jobs and it's all very kind of outdoorsy, car commercials, rugged terrain, camping stuff, some good work.
Yeah, some fun stuff.
They released a work manual, an adaptive film solution. I'll put a link in the show notes, but it's on LinkedIn. It's a PDF. It's like a 10-page pitch deck. It's kind of what we were talking about with Michael Ritchie from Revolver in Australia.
Michael.
Except they did it on their own.
Right.
They didn't join forces with any other production company. What it says is page by page, simple kind of bite-sized concepts of how we can start working together. And it says, production has changed more in the last 3 weeks than anyone could have ever imagined. But as filmmakers, we are natural innovators. Pushing boundaries and experimenting is a part of our daily routine. It goes on to say storytelling comes first, which is something we talked about in episode 2, which was the very first of our COVID series of episodes when we pivoted. It was called The Power of Storytelling. And that's kind of what this is speaking to. It says good storytelling is grounded in honest human experiences and helps bring us closer together. And I thought that was really impactful. And then it goes on to talk about collaboration. Collaboration's key. Limitations don't mean sacrificing your vision. Limitations actually can help you, inspire you to do something new and different.
Right.
And their directors are ready and available to work remotely from home with everything that they have at their home. That's animals, people, views, city, whatever. And they're also pitching remote viewing for agencies, transmitting some sort of video village to them so they can watch remotely. And of course, a healthy dose of safety. So I thought that was interesting that they put that out. It looks great. It's on LinkedIn. I'll put a link to it in the show notes. It's all the stuff we've been talking about. No new discoveries there, but it's one company that's making moves to
taking the initiative to
make something happen and get the conversation going.
Yes, and also too, giving those out there who are feeling like they want to do something, maybe a toolbox to do it with.
So, Christian, you sent me an article yesterday.
I did,
and this one is really interesting. Live concerts won't return. This is the headline. Live concerts won't return until fall 2021 at the earliest, health experts warn. And this makes sense to me. And
to me, that makes sense.
Yeah, this is kind of part of, I think, why I'm, feeling like I'm in bizarro world. I've got a cache of concert tickets that I can't get refunds for. And who knows when they're going to perform again. According to Zeke Emanuel, director of the Healthcare Transformation Institute at the University of Pennsylvania. Mm-hmm. So take that for what it is. I have no idea what that means or who that is. He was part of an expert panel assembled by the New York Times on life after the pandemic. And he says, the problem is you can't just flip a switch and open the whole of society back up. Mm-mm. It's just not going to work. It's too much. The virus will definitely flare back to worse levels.
One person.
Yeah, exactly. So large-scale gatherings such as conferences, sports events, live concerts won't be safe to attend until fall 2021 at the earliest, according to him. Mm-hmm. Which is, as my logical brain knows, makes sense.
Right.
This hurts my heart a bit.
Well, yes. And I do think that we've seen, again, with the amount of experts that are out there currently, we've seen a range of opinions, right? So, we could consider this one being the extreme, or it could, be the nail on the head one. We don't know yet, but the beginning of the discussions allow us to get used to the idea that we're not going to be doing these activities for a while. And I do think that it's important to get it out there. It may be, again, worst case scenario, but it also makes me leery to go out and do big things with groups of people.
Yeah. Confidence in safety has to be there. And it's going to be a while before we have that
Before I can trust somebody else who said, yes, I'm fine. Like, I know what I'm doing. Right. Yeah. And I would trust myself to go to something because I know exactly what I'm doing and what I've been exposed to. I have no idea what they have.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So, I think it's just food for thought, because I think this is the beginning of the discussions of us, whatever our life is moving forward. These are the discussions of how it's going to be different. Mm-hmm. And I think it's important.
During all this madness, I was leading a experiential project and there was talk of like, oh, we're going to push it maybe to August, September. And I was just like, even that first week, I was like, that sounds ridiculous. I don't see how that's possibly going to happen. And he even said it, people are saying they're going to reschedule conferences and graduation events for October 2020. And this guy, Zeke Emanuel, says, I have no idea how they even think that's plausibly possible. I think those things will be the last to return. Realistically, fall 2021.
Yeah.
So
I know a lot of people are disappointed that they did not get to celebrate those things the way that they thought they were going to, but those people are also have their lives and hopefully their health. So the trade-off, I feel, is hurtful, but also positive.
Yeah.
So yesterday we had a viewer question that was sent to us via email, and it was Erica Monhay. She was asking about what sick leave in California means and what employees can do.
Yes.
So Lawrence did research on it. Thank you very much, Lawrence.
Since I'm here in California.
Yeah. And we have a detail of how it's accrued. What my question, I guess, still is, can an employee use California paid sick leave due to the COVID illness?
Yes. The California sick leave thing is something that started in July 1st of 2015. It's a California state sick leave package that you accrue hours and they bank sick leave. I think at the most 24 hours is what you can bank, and it rolls over into the next year. You don't get a bill on top of that, but you carry that 24 hours with you until you need it.
I see.
I'll put a link in the show notes as to how that time is accrued. It's by employer. So your employer is, as we know on film shoots, the payroll company. That is your employer of record.
Oh, see, after I read this, that's what I was wanting. That's it. Go on. Yeah. That's the key.
Yeah, that's your employer of record. So each employer that you work for is paying into this bank, this fund, the sick leave fund. And, I know we talked about this yesterday. You might have
some
sick leave
hours
with several different,
amount.
If you've got entertainment partners, if you've got cast and crew, if you've got media services, you might. I don't know that to be fact.
Got it.
But since it's per employer, I think you might have a few hours at different payroll companies. So you might want to check all your pay stubs or call them. So to answer your question, and I found another website that I'll put, can employees use California paid sick leave due to COVID-19 illness?
Right.
And it says yes. If the employee has paid sick leave available, the employer must provide such leave and compensate the employee under the California sick leave laws. Paid sick leave, this is important, can be used for absences due to illness, the diagnosis, care, or treatment of an existing health condition, or preventative care for the employee or the employee's family members. And under these new COVID-19 guidelines, preventative care may include self-quarantine as a result of potential exposure to COVID-19 if quarantine is recommended by civil authorities. So I don't know what that entails, but it sounds like you can take advantage of this California paid sick leave if you've been exposed, and maybe you just need to tell a doctor you've been exposed and they will tell you to self-quarantine.
Right. Well, when Erica and I were speaking about it, because I didn't know anything, but I was walking down in theory what it was, and I would said it, and she was like, her big thing was, well, then it seems that people who are self-quarantining or people who are staying home, this counts. And I was like, so yes, it looks like it does. I think that every person out there, now I don't have any accrued. So what I'm going to do is next contact some freelance folks that I have, probably Rick and Taryn, and just be like, please call and find out if you can take this money.
It does say, for example, where there has been an exposure to COVID-19 or where the worker has traveled to a high-risk area.
But LA is on such a lockdown right now, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that is a civil authority saying that you should do it or you're going to get sick.
Ah, that's true.
That's where the interpretation is now. When we first started this, a month ago, force majeure, in my opinion, should have been able to be used for this situation, meaning not for sick pay for individuals, but for jobs canceled.
No, for jobs.
Exactly. It was my opinion because I've used force majeure a couple of times for government shutdowns for various reasons. So, but the insurance companies, what it seemed that happened was after our research was they banded together and was like, well, no, we're just not going to pay them. We're going to say that you could have prevented this.
Right. You saw it coming.
Right. Like we were getting conflicting information, but sure, we saw it coming. I would like to see if there's a difference between each payroll company and what they're saying or what the thing is. You know what? I know Steve Bisnoff over at Media Services quite well. I'm going to shoot him an email.
And I know Susan Ruitt Anderson was speaking to her payroll company as well. So I wonder if she's found any information.
Oh, you know what? We should do a check-in.
Yeah, we will.
Okay. I like it. Take action, buddy. No rent NYC happening. Sign the petition. We need to figure out what we're going to do because nobody's going to be working in April. Just is what it is.
Exactly. It is what it is. And I've seen more activity outside of just New York City, some other petitions as well floating around saying, look, if we are not allowed to work these 3 months, we should not have to pay rent. Same with mortgages. It's a tricky topic. And that petition is on our website under the Take Action page.
Yes.
So go to producershappyhour.com, go to Take Action, sign that no rent in New York City petition. There's also the Live Events Coalition and their petition to gain visibility for the live events community. And based on that news article earlier, no live big shows until 2021. There needs to be some sort of federal aid for that.
Donate blood. I had my appointment scheduled. It got rescheduled because the site where I was got shut down for whatever reason. So still trying. I'm, as soon as I can, going to get out there and donate blood. They need blood. I don't know if anyone's seen any of the campaigns they're all over now because blood is needed.
I haven't seen any of the campaigns.
Well, here in New York, I think it's really needed.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
We're in a blood crisis.
Yeah. The other thing on our Take Action page is a petition to save the United States Post Office. This is something that's going on behind the scenes during all this COVID craziness. Some members of Congress are trying to privatize the post office, which means your $3 to get your medication sent to your home or one of your loved ones could be $15 by the end of this year if they are successful in defunding the post office and shutting it down and privatizing it. And the other big aspect of that is it will severely impact vote by mail, which we now know is really important. The president can do it. He says he's allowed. He can vote by mail.
We should all be able to
vote by mail.
Yeah.
If it's safe for him, it should be safe for us. as long as it's run by the USPS and not some private entity that has special interests.
Honestly, just look at private colleges and private prisons if you want any kind of comparison. So don't forget about Globetops, kids. If you have a spare laptop or device that's hanging around, please donate it. This will allow a child in New York City to be able to school from home. And we have no idea what next year is going to look like yet. I think it's very important that we give these kids all the tools that they can in order to succeed.
Yes. And I have a new one I'm going to add to the Take Action page. This is from the International Documentary Association. They published a filmmaker's guide to applying for U.S. coronavirus relief. So it's documentary.org/creators/COVID-19. And on that page, it's very useful. So even non-documentary people, I suggest everyone go look at it because it's very helpful, full of information. The project is a collaboration between Firelight Media, IDA, and ITVS. And what is on that page is a very familiar chart. I think we have it posted in different formats, but it breaks down unemployment, the payroll protection plan, the EIDL grants, and explains them all in a very easy to read chart. And then it's got 100 Q&As.
What?
Frequently asked questions.
Yeah.
So, click on them. I'm sure you can probably find answers to your questions there. It's a really helpful page. So I'm going to put that link in the show notes as well.
I mean, I'm going to do that the moment we're done.
All right, should we get on with our interview?
Yes.
Okay. Andy Wilcox worked as an agency producer for 24 years, starting at BBDO, then became head of production at Nitro. He has owned his own production pop-up department company, Evidence of Industry, for the last 10 years.
What exactly is a pop-up production department? Well, a pop-up production department allows traditional agencies and marketers to scale around a project when they need it, without the long-term commitments and expense usually involved to engage in the best talent.
Let's take a listen.
Thank you so much for joining us today, Andy. We really appreciate it. So we'd love to find out how you're doing personally, check in on you. How's your family? Actually, where do you live?
Actually, I live in New York, the Upper West Side, actually. So,
interesting, because I'm here in Bushwick, so great. We know where each other is. And so how are you doing? Like, you're staying in, all that stuff?
Yeah, staying in, all good. It's crazy because it's in my building, there's probably about 300 apartments, and I'm probably one of 20 apartments occupied.
Because everyone went east.
They've all gone, or whatever. I live in a very old building. It's called the Ansonia, and it reminds you of The Shining and Good Days. So you can imagine what it's like with nobody around.
Sounds like a show.
Yes.
You could probably put some content out for that.
Yes, it could totally be a show. Judging by the characters that live here, including myself.
Well, I know a lot of people who live in Manhattan also either have a house, out east, Hamptons, Montauk, or whatever, or a house upstate. So a lot of people I know are out of the city right now.
Yeah.
To keep it even more desolate than it is.
Yeah, actually, my business partner is actually out in the Hamptons with her family right now. She also lives on the Upper West Side, but she has 3 kids and 2 dogs and the whole.
Oh yeah, he needs a little space.
Yeah, so
a little space for that.
Yeah, she's out in Southampton right now. But crazy. Besides that, my family's great. We're all good. Just day by day, staying out of lines.
Yeah.
It's a line society now.
Exactly.
Andy, give us a little bit of background. I mean, I know we just read an introduction about you, but give us a little bit of background on you, yourself, and your career path, and how that all led to Evidence of Industry and everything up until the pandemic.
Well, I came to New York 26 years ago. I really had no idea what I wanted to do, other than I wanted to get into filmmaking of some kind. I was living down in the West Village, and my first job was working in the building that I was in, like helping a bookstore set up their first computer. And I would help, there was an actress that lived on the 2nd floor, and I would collect dresses for her, and she would leave me money. And then, just sort of things like that. And I got to know the neighbors, and they talked to me about what I wanted to do, and they wanted to know about my background. And they basically said, I really wanted to get into movies, actually. They said, you're poor, you need to work first, do movies later. And they introduced me to people, and I did a job within a month of being in the city. And
that's fantastic.
Yeah. And I started in editing. I started a company called Crew Cuts, which is still around. I worked there for a little while. Yeah. And then I was hired as an assistant producer at BBDO. And I was at BBDO New York for 10 years. And then I left there, freelanced for a little while, trying to figure out what I really wanted to do next. And then I had an offer to become head of production at a small agency in Nitro. And I liked that idea because I'd come from a gigantic agency, so I wanted to figure that out, the small agency thing. And then from there, I was bought by Sapient maybe 5 or 6 years.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Something like that. And it became a big place again. And I was like, I really didn't want to be in a big agency.
Right.
I saw a trend at the time where the industry was shifting and it was, do companies even want production departments full time anymore and all that stuff. So I started a company with Erica Best, my business partner, and we started Evidence of Industry, which I've had now for 10 years.
So explain the concept to us. You call it a pop-up production department.
Yeah, so like if a client calls, whether it's a small agency or it's a client directly, and they need to produce something. And I tend to joke about it a bit. I tend to say that we're party planners, but I think a producer is a party planner.
Yeah. It's true.
You know?
We are. We're an event planner.
Exactly.
Well, I mean, I think of it, so if I may, I think of it as like I'm the host on shoot days. And if I've done my job correctly, I can walk around to each department, see how they're doing. We've given them snacks. Like it's a nice environment to be at.
Yeah, exactly. So,
yeah, that's how I explain it to people who have no idea what would.
According to the Small Business Association, for our disaster loan grants, the closest thing that we found to register ourselves was event planners. There's no producers, there's no media, there's no entertainment, event planners.
Television, film, nothing. It was just under events. Sure.
I wanted to click the adult entertainment thing if you saw that.
Oh, I wanted to so bad. Someday, because we're all kind of figuring out what we're doing next, right?
Yeah, you know.
I mean, listen.
Yeah.
Well, so, okay, so when thinking back, May 13th, right? Because now it's April 13th.
Yeah.
May 13th was a Friday, and that was the day that, you know, my job, we were supposed to film the next week, a commercial in LA, and it canceled.
Yeah.
And that was the day that we were telling crew, like, sorry, but that was basically the week that we just kept hearing left and right that jobs are canceling and or put on hiatus for 2 weeks and then we'll regroup. That was back when we still had some, you know, we weren't getting a full amount of the full amount of information in order to assess the situation, right?
Yeah.
Did you have projects in the works during that time? Did you have cancellations?
No, actually, what was happening to me is I was coming off of a few projects. I'd finished them off kind of right in the nick of time, dare I say it that way. And then I had others that are starting up, and they still are starting up. But in those startups, it's discussing what can be done and what can't be done.
Yeah, exactly.
For that particular client, they want to put something out there. It's just how do we do it at this point, knowing we can't film anything, you know, with a typical crew or anything like that. We're just looking at various ways to do that. Spent a lot of time, like, honestly, remembering what it was like during 9/11, the last time something crazy like this happened. And what did we do then? And I remember we stopped for a while. I do know that. I remember that.
Yes.
For maybe a few weeks. I don't think it was like this, if memory serves, but then we started coming back with things, right? And and then over the course of the next few years, it was interesting just how much work was being done all across the world, you know, and everyone.
Yeah.
So I feel like we're in a similar situation now, where I think one of the things that's plaguing everyone is no one knows what to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're all talking about what we could possibly do or not do, or scenarioing it out. But since we don't have any kind of date, we don't quite know when or what to do yet.
Yes, exactly. So a lot of the stuff that we're doing right now is just planning multiple different paths. Either shoots are pushing out further and we're just sort of saying, well, let's say something's pushing out until August, I'll just use that as a date. You know, we don't know what the world will be like then. We don't know if we'll be able to be in a situation where we can have more than 20 people in a room at the same time, you know? So kind of concept, what does that look like if we only have 10 to 20 people? Or do we go in a whole different area where we don't need people at all except for voiceover? Do we do something with animation or things like that? So it's that's the big thing as a producer we have to sort of think about, or as an agency producer, it's like thinking about the project in multiple different ways and presenting those options and following those options through, as opposed to, you know, going back a few months. It was like you sort of picked a lane early and sort of went down that lane. You know?
Of course.
You know?
Yeah, and advising, because I'm sure clients want to hear, your thoughts on how you can help them or what you're going, like, how can we do something? And, by August, having us as humans may be tired of seeing, animation, and we want to see some real connections, right?
Yeah.
So
totally.
Not having those answers is rare for us because producers have all the answers.
Yeah. Well, I think you're seeing things already where there's a lot of self-filming going on.
Yeah.
It's funny. It crosses my mind every day is how do we make self-filming look great? Like, do we have to send everybody lenses for their phones? Do we send everybody a 3-point lighting kit with some instructions?
Like a diagram. Mm-hmm.
I actually had these conversations. There was a possibility of doing something like this.
Yeah. It's problem solving, Going back to the party planning thing, how do we throw this party?
How do we throw this party?
In a safe environment where everybody gets what they want. So,
exactly.
I mean, it's kind of...
I know I shouldn't laugh about it. It's true,
No, I mean, it's not that you're laughing about it, Said that there's nothing we can do. So all we can do is talk about it.
Yeah, totally. Mm-hmm. Exactly. So, I think we're just in that mode. I think personally, as a business owner and someone who does like doing this, I love trying to figure out new ways to do things. And this is definitely affording me the time to do that. I don't think I'm coming up with anything yet that's going to radically change the world of cinema. But, so that I spend a lot of time just sort of, thinking about that. The interesting thing about what's happening right now is, as a producer and my background, which I came from a very different time in advertising, like the 90s was like a distinct time in advertising. The 2000s was a very distinct time in advertising.
It was so...
And I always knew even back then that I think creative people's best thinking is not being locked in an office. And so working from home is not a new thing for me. Yeah. So I'm not experienced that for the first time, but that's a good thing. I think we can actually come up with a really great ideas and concepts within the confines that we're in right now. It's hard to relate my belief system to creativity. Sorry to go on a tangent right now. I believe that really good creative has many confines to it. Look at music by Bach. Great example of that. We still know his music to this day. And that person was writing under a religious regime that was very strict, a chord progression that was very restricted, and instrumentation that was very restricted. Yet out of that came music we do many years later, So I feel like with filmmaking, it can be the same thing. And I've always felt that, actually. I always felt like having everything at your fingertips doesn't necessarily bring the best piece out to the world.
Innovation is born out of necessity, right?
Yeah,
so you put specific confines on somebody and you have to get creative. That's when some people do their best work.
Exactly.
So maybe that, we might see some beauty come out of this in terms of that.
Yeah.
It sounds like you've actively been having conversations with some agencies and some clients, are you?
Yes. Yeah. Agencies, clients, production companies, like every day, I think it's filled with at least 2 or 3 conversations around,
really
either what's happening, what we think could happen. Like we talked about earlier, everything from, how could we film something as this starts to unfold to what are the implications, what are the risk implications that we're going to run into in filming or, in the future, in the next even 2 years. Even if we do have ability to put a crew together, what will that crew be required to provide? I.e., like whether it's your immunization record, dare I say,
right?
Where have you been? That kind of
your travel history.
Yeah, and insurance is going to shift everywhere.
Oh yeah,
and risk management is going to be a big part of it. I think if I were to talk about clients, for the most part, their head is in the risk management mindset more than anything. I think on the creative side of it, it's more like, how do we get it done? Granted, there's risk and they know that, but it's like, how do we do something? So it's kind of all over the map. But I feel like we're in the midst of it, and every week my conversations shift slightly. And I think in the near future, regardless of what happens, things will start to unfold, I think, in ways.
Yeah.
People will want to do things. I mean, everybody's watching TV now, dare I say that?
I mean,
yeah, that's true.
I mean,
it is. Well, Lawrence finished Netflix last week.
Exactly.
Sorry, I keep telling on you, Lawrence.
I finished Netflix. It's done.
He's moved on to Amazon. So I'm fascinated, and I want to know how production insurance is going to react to this moving forward, or agency insurance.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
I think that, and this will take some time to figure out, but I wouldn't be surprised if workman's comp goes up a lot.
Yes.
I hope so.
Yeah, and that'll
sick pay
thing, I don't know how shoot insurance are really going to go and what they will and won't cover. That's going to be a
right.
big thing. I have a really good friend of mine who works for one of the big insurance companies, not in production, but in just general. And so I idly hear all the time the shifts that are happening there. He'll talk openly about his calls. I'm thinking to myself, like, oh my God, are we going to be dealing with the fact that our production insurance could quadruple in price?
Yes.
Yeah.
I think so.
I hate to say that, but it's like, we could face that. I'm sure we're going to see an increase of something.
Yeah, for sure.
We also, we've been talking about it. We also think sick pay is going to be a thing, and it's going to be as it should.
Yeah.
But it should be just something that is built into a budget moving forward.
Yes. Yeah.
And we'll figure out how to do it. But, we want everybody to be safe. So if you're feeling sick, you should stay home.
Yes.
The incentive to stay home is that you don't get penalized by not working.
Right. Exactly.
So we talked about 9/11. That was only a few weeks of us being down and then coming out of it. I mean, I was down for a considerable amount of time. It's the first thing I thought about as well. The same thing that happened back then. We got shut down and then we're going to be back. But obviously, this is a different situation because we're not going to go back immediately. It's like the switch just isn't going to come on and, okay, now we're back and here's a crew of 85 people in a 1-bedroom house.
Right.
That's not going to happen.
That's a lot of the conversations I'm having about. So let's say it starts to open up and then I can see another time that we haven't seen in for a while, which is, you hire a director and you send them off to shoot the thing and, you agree to shoot what you're going to shoot and,
You trust them? I didn't realize when you said fantasy, we were going down a road of like...
Exactly. And...
If we were rebuilding society, then...
Yeah, exactly. They have to deliver the goods, right? And then, it's put together and... oh, God forbid if, in the United States anyways, if a director edits something.
Forget about it.
Director's cut.
Or puts the first cut together,
So then here's a follow-up to that is how the industry evolved, right? And what we were all, the type of, structure that we were working under up until March, right?
Yeah.
Do you feel that people have gotten used to that, meaning clients and, agency folks? Do you think there's a space to allow for the change? Or do you think that we're going to be required as production people to try our very best to do it exactly the way that it was before, which I don't think we're willing to do, but I'm just asking.
No, I don't think we're willing or able to do it the way we did it before.
No, exactly. Okay.
Future. I'm not saying 10 years from now, there aren't certain productions that are mirror what's been happening, but I can see for the probably next few years, dare I say that it'll be just a very different kind of approach to it, and to achieve the same things that we've been getting, just done in a slightly different way. Instead of maybe pulling, like you were saying, 50 people to a 1-bedroom house, maybe we send small crews somewhere to pick up the actors in various locations, making a smaller, more nimble crew and not involving so many people at once. I wonder in this, fantasy that I'm talking about, not just the agencies having to change their mind on it, but also the production companies having to change their mind on it. And not just production companies, the unions that we're involved with having to change their things on it. That's going to be the big thing as well. So I think you have this dichotomy of an agency who's trying to survive, you have a union that's trying to survive, and how will they come together and respect each other and then move it forward?
I've seen the industry since 2008, right? So after the financial crash and then come back, I've seen the industry start to work around unions more and more, only from a monetary standpoint of necessity, right? Yeah. And again, this fantasy land, everyone. I could definitely see, unfortunately, we will all have to work together, or somebody will, or we will move on without.
Yes.
Because that's just kind of what, and I think that there's a lot of productions, a lot of us who feel that we need to be firm or else it will slip into a situation where it's not sustainable again.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. Fundamentally, they've been saying on the news and everywhere else, but we have to come together basically and talk about how we move forward.
Well, do you have any words of advice for crew members, directors, filmmakers, anybody out there of what,
the creative side now is,
sure.
If I were on the creative side of it, I'd be just figuring out new ways to dream. Yeah. Right. But, how do we tell stories in this thing, or what's interesting stories, or on the creative side? On a crew side, and I know it's going to be tough, but that crew is going to, be really needed within the next year. And it's just going to take some time to get there,
Right.
Yeah.
It's almost like the restaurants, like how are they going to come back and how are production going to come back? It's going to come back. And it's just like, you have to be sort of, I hate to say it, patient. It will come back. And the way you work might be different, like maybe you're working remotely in some way. How we hire PAs may change, right? How we, but the need will be there,
I also think, and I've been thinking about this a lot, like the three of us will know because I've been around for a while, but maybe allowing art department to go build that set alone for maybe a couple of more days than it would have taken before because there's less people.
Yeah.
And then those people leave and then we start the grip and lighting crew. Yeah. I mean, it could be a more spaced out way with less people, but you're still paying the same because they're multiple days.
Yes, exactly.
Stuff like that seems to be been tickling my mind. So yeah, it's going to come back, but we need to do it very thoughtfully.
Yeah, exactly. And one thing that's happened, of course, technology has done it to us. Everything has been at such a breakneck speed.
Yeah, I know.
Maybe this will go back a little bit where it's like, oh, this is going to take a little time, as it maybe should,
right.
And be more thoughtful about it. What I do see happening, and it happened during 9/11 as well, is that when we do get to the other side of this, every corporation is going to want to advertise.
Every single one. So I know.
If I were to say the reality of what's going to happen to us, I think in some ways it's going to be so much stuff happening that it's going to be overwhelming. My busiest, I was always busy in the 90s, but like it went really nuts after 9/11.
Really?
And I had a nonstop run. 2000, late 2001, 2002, 2003, which it was a total burden, So I see this similar thing happening where all of a sudden it's going to be like, wow, like it's going to be, a big rush to get a bunch of stuff out. Not just in our industry, but in every industry, to be honest.
Yeah.
I also think we may find that certain parts of the country will open before other parts of the country. And I think we as producers and whatnot have to be open to the fact that we may have to film in those places and not be afraid of that.
100%.
I remember having, I don't know why this story I feel is relevant to this, but it probably isn't, but I'll just say it anyway. But I remember distinctly doing a commercial right after 9/11, and we were going to be the first ones from the agency to go to LA. And there was a massive panic around going to LA.
What?
And
that's awesome.
It was, should we drive across country, train across country, or fly across country, right? And honestly, I hate to say this, but it was like, I was like, there's no way in hell I'm driving across country. I'm getting on that goddamn plane, right? You had to face the fear of, you just had to do it. And I think we're going to be in that situation again. It's going to get to a point like we just have to figure this out and do it. So what if we have to shoot in wherever, Oklahoma, South Dakota, Iowa? I don't care.
Right.
Like it's just, we just have to figure it out, And what do we have to do that? And how do we do that safely? I definitely see that happening.
We're just going to have to be open and flexible as producers and production crew are.
Yeah, exactly.
To what it's going to look like and what's going to be required to execute what we do.
Yeah. I also want to say this in this time to people, and in not just our business, but every business, is in what's happening around us, we are left held up in our apartments or our homes, right? This is a really good time to get yourself organized, and how that's going to help in the future when it does all come flooding back, like getting quote unquote your house in order, right? And when you personally get yourself in order, you're helping your business too.
Right.
I think a lot of production people should think about that, or anybody who is sitting at home like, what do I do? It's like, I think maybe focus on the things, even if they're mundane, the things you can do for yourself at home, to help organize yourself, because this time will change. One thing that I have been doing is I organize my emails, and in organizing my emails, I discovered all the people that I could reach out to, and it was like, oh my god, this person or that person I saw then, or this person I worked with there, like just sort of going through memory lane, and it was kind of hilarious to do that. And then I writing a list of like, oh, here's all the people that I should reach out to just to say hello. I haven't seen them in forever, and see how they're doing, and in doing that for me personally, I've realized we're all in the same boat, so we're all going to get out on the same boat, right?
Yes, right.
I can't think of a time when I would ever do that unless I would never sit down and say, guess what I'm going to do today is organize
my email.
So you're right. Take the time to do the things that you've put off.
Yeah.
Because we are a freelancer or busy people. I mean, I think that's a great advice.
Yeah, totally.
Andy, I have one more question for you. What are you looking for? And this kind of brings us back to a personal check-in. What are you personally looking forward to when all this is over? And I know it's going to be over in stages, but when we can go back out and be together, and it could be something as simple as your favorite martini at a bar or world peace. I don't know. What are you looking forward to?
I'm going to relate it to the 9/11 thing. What happened at 9/11 for, I think, people who were in this city, and for me, I shouldn't say for everybody. Mm-hmm. There was such an incredible time in the city at that point to bring back the city. And so now we're going to be in such an incredible time to bring back not only the United States, but the world. And it's going to be an incredible time to experience the world in this new way. Everything from, I can't wait to sit at that bar at Gramercy Tavern, or I can't wait to fly to Paris. I can't wait to, go to London or go wherever it may be, or go to LA. And it's going to take a long time for this stuff to come back. And if you have the opportunity to experience the world because of this job, and this job provides, things like travel and things like that, whatever, we should take advantage of that and use that. Absolutely. I hate to say this, but the first time I stayed at the Chateau Marmont was after 9/11, and it was because it was available to stay in.
Wow. Yeah. That's right.
So if I have to come back to LA, that's probably going to be the first place I call.
Yeah.
Well, I'll meet you there by the pool at happy hour.
Exactly.
And we can have a toast.
Yeah, exactly. So that's what I would say to everybody. When this world opens up, experience it,
Wow. Andy, thank you so much for spending some time with us
thank you
today.
so much. This was great.
Okay. Thank you. Well, hopefully we'll talk soon.
What a guy.
Holy smokes. Like, if they could all be like Andy.
Yeah, they could all be like Andy. I mean, I've had the good fortune of producing a job with Andy. And
nice.
It was crazy. It was chaotic. It was frenetic. But him and his giggly laugh.
He remained positive.
Just remaining positive and being a partner, helping me problem solve, me helping him problem solve. It was really lovely. And he's taking that approach to this whole situation. He's trying to problem solve. He's trying to create options for agencies, options for production companies. It's great.
No, he's definitely walking the walk, as they say. He's applying his, personality and his own optimism to what we're doing. And he's not shoving it down our throats, which I love. Like, he is just who he is, and he's positive and amazing. And, just we'll get through this. Yep. I love it.
Be patient, and because it's going to come back, and it's going to come back with a vengeance. Mm-hmm. It's just going to look different.
It's going to look different.
Take the time to get yourself in order. And my favorite thing he said was figure out new ways to dream.
I know. I got a little bit, I definitely got the goosebumps. All the hair stood up on all my arms.
I know. Well, thanks to Andy Wilcox from Evidence of Industry for joining us today. Tomorrow, who do we have, Christian?
So tomorrow we have Michael Litwack. He's a director that I have worked with before. He does comedy. I want to dive into how he's been keeping busy in the Great Pause.
In the Great Pause. All right, everybody, that's it for today. Stay safe, stay connected, stay active, and please stay home.
Wash your hands, don't touch your face, and please wear a mask if you leave the house. It is very important that we all try to protect each other from each other.
Yes, and be sure to send us your voice recordings or emails to producershappyhour@gmail.com. Share your story. It will resonate with somebody, and it will help us all feel a little bit closer right now.
Yes. Lawrence, how do people reach you directly?
2 websites, lawrencetLewis.com and voiceoflawrence.com for voiceover work. Christian, how about you?
sisterchristianproduces.com. There's going to be an update soon.
Get it up. As Andy said, now is the time to get your stuff in order.
I know, he gave me so much. As positive as he was, my own anxiety started to rear its ugly head. Anyway, bye, everyone.
All right, bye.